9 famous people who struggled on their way to success. 1. Colonel Sanders got 1,009 rejections. Sanders tried in vain to sell his chicken recipe. He went broke at the age of 65. His restaurant started losing money, and he had to sell it. He slept in his car for 2 years. Finally, he found a restaurant owner who bought his recipe. 9 years later, his chicken was sold at 600 restaurants. 2. Dr. Seuss's first book was rejected by 27 publishers. He decided to burn the book's manuscript. On the way home, he met an old acquaintance. Mike McClintock was made editor of children's books. That day, he took Seuss's book. It was published to glowing reviews. 3. Steven Spielberg had learning difficulties. He was bullied in school for being unable to read properly. Spielberg's teachers thought he was simply lazy. His dyslexia was only diagnosed when he was in his 60s. Spielberg was rejected 3 times by the School of Cinematic Arts. Today, he's worth $4.8 billion. 4. Bill Gates watched his first company crumble. His first business was Trafo Data. Gates tried to sell the idea of analyzing the data from traffic tapes, but the product barely worked. Trafo Data never took off. A few years later, Gates released the first Microsoft product. 5. J.K. Rowling was an unemployed single mother. She battled depression after her mother's death. Her first marriage failed. She raised her child alone while living on welfare. Rowling tried to write a novel in her spare time. Harry Potter was turned down by 12 publishing houses.
Rock bottom became a solid foundation.
Rowling said,
"On it I rebuilt my life."
6. Ferdinand Porsche was kicked out of industrial design school. His teachers said he lacked talent. Porsche worked at his father's company, but the lead designer rejected his ideas. Ferdinand had to go to an external contractor. He built a prototype of the Porsche 911. The car is still a bestseller today. 7. Michael Jordan was cut from his high school team, yet he resolved early on to never give up.
I have missed more than 9,000 shots in my career. I have lost almost 300 games. On 26 occasions, I was entrusted to take the game-winning shot, and I missed it. I have failed over and over again in my life, and that's why I succeed.
Jordan is the highest-paid athlete of all time. 8. Jim Carrey was a homeless factory worker. When Jim was 12, his father lost his job. There were 2 parents and 4 kids to support. At times they all worked as janitors to get by. They lived together in a van. Carrey worked in a factory after school. At 15, he performed his first comedy routine on stage. It was a total failure. Undeterred, he dropped out of school and moved to LA. Carrey wrote himself a $100,000 check for acting services rendered. Soon afterward, he hit his payday with Dumb and Dumber. Carrey kept the check and later put it in his dad's coffin. 9. Lady Gaga was dropped from her first record label. At 19, Lady Gaga signed to Island Def Jam, but just 3 months later, they dropped her. Def Jam boss L.A. Reid listened to her demos and hated them. He later said it had been a bad day. Gaga's Marry the Night music video deals with her label rejection.